All right, we're back and we're real quick going to talk about making selections just to make sure everybody has caught on to how we make selections of multiple objects at one time when we want specific objects, not everything. So I've gotten my artboard out and I've got a few objects just built. We've got a rectangle, a star, and an oval. And there are a few ways that you can select objects in Illustrator. There are two selection arrows. There is the black arrow and then there is the white arrow. So the black arrow is called the selection tool. The white arrow is called the direct selection tool. They do work in a little different ways, but let's talk basics. We're going to work first off with just the black arrow. And you notice my screen is in fact a black cursor. So the first way you can select is you can left click and drag. And you'll notice this little dotted line comes up, and everything that is inside or touching that, even partially, so even if I go only halfway, anything that is within the boundaries of that box will be selected. So now when I click and drag, all of these objects move together. To unselect, I'm going to come out, I'm going to click outside, and you'll notice nothing is now selected. The second way I can select objects is by clicking. If I just click and release, I get my bounding box around the single object, and I can click and drag that item however I want. Again, to deselect, click anywhere outside of the object, and we can go from there. Now, the other thing we might need to do is we might want to select multiple objects that are overlapping. So, for example, if I have all three of these overlapping and I want to select a couple of them, if I draw this way, well, that's no good. I'm going to select all of them. If I just want to select two of them, maybe what I need to do is a new option, and that's the Shift key, the modifier key. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to select the first object I want. In this case, I want, say, this pink rectangle. So I'm going to left click, and you'll notice it has selected it. Now I'm going to go and say, well, I want to also select this red star. So I'm going to press the Shift key. I'm holding down Shift on my keyboard. I'm actually holding it down right now, and I'm going to click on the star. Now what's happened is that it has added that selection to my current selection. So since I already had the purple rectangle chosen, when I held down Shift and clicked on the red star, it added that to my selection. So now when I click and drag, it moves both of them together. I can hold down Shift again and then click on the green oval, and now it's selected as well. I can also use this to unselect specific objects. So if I hold down Shift and click on the pink rectangle again, you'll notice my box changed because it has unselected the pink rectangle, and now it's just these two that I'm moving around. And this is really important for being able to pick specific things. For example, if I move these out of the way, you'll remember when we did the skull quiz that you had to create a frame of a skull, and you went ahead and you also had to do things like draw an eye on it. Let me give that a color. And you had to draw a nose and things like that. And in the end, you had to duplicate it. So you copied it by Control C, pasted it in place with Control F. Whoops. You copied it, pasted it in place with Control F, and then you went ahead, used the right side as the mirror point and flipped it, and then you had to join it. Now a lot of you had the issue where when you dragged a box to select it all, it also selected the eyes, and when you try to go Object, Path, Join, it gives you some errors. So selecting individual pieces is really important to be able to do. So here I can click on the right side, hold down Shift, click on the left side, and then go ahead and join those together, and then I can come over here to my layers and make sure that it's underneath everything else. But that lets you select just the pieces that you care about to work with. So once again, selections use the Shift key to add single pieces. So click there, hold down Shift and click again, lets you select just two of the objects, whereas a box selects everything that touches the box. The direct selection tool is a little bit different. It lets you select individual pieces of an object. So, for example, I'm going to move these two guys out of the way, we're going to look just at this pink box. If I use the direct selection tool and I click on this, it's selecting this line. And now if I click and drag, it moves that line. Now the entire box changes because Illustrator tries to keep everything connected. This is a good way to be able to move and what's called shear an item, things like that. I can also come over, click on the anchor point in the corner, and then click and drag, and it moves just that anchor point. So I can manipulate this object itself. The direct selection tool, again, only selects individual pieces. Now, if I do the same thing I did over here earlier with the black selection tool and use Shift, I can in fact click on multiples and move both of them at the same time by using Shift. I can again hold Shift to unselect when I click, and now I'm just moving the one anchor point. So that's the basics of the selection tools, specifically the black selection arrow and the white direct selection arrow. And this is what you're going to be using to pick objects as we move through the next assignment.